Good to go, Sue? Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to the Shamong Township Committee meeting of July 9th. Sue, would you read the sunshine statement, please?
Please be advised, proper notice of this meeting has been given in compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act.
Thank you.
Mr. DeCroce?
Here?
Ms. Benzitis?
Here.
Mr. Wilkinson?
Here.
Mr. Woods?
Here.
Mr. Zender?
Here.
Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to join us with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, before we get started, I just have a couple of hopefully quick announcements. So many people here tonight. Do you all want to escape out of the, you don't have any air conditioning at your house? It's nice to see you here. I'm happy that you're here and hopefully you'll come out and join us again. I missed the last meeting, so I wanted to acknowledge Deputy Mayor. Thank you for handling that for me.
You're welcome.
I was in trial for a couple of days, so that made my life a lot easier. I also want to congratulate Brian and Dave and also Deputy Mayor for running in the past election. There are a lot of people, a Republican Party, that did not vote in this past election, in this primary. So our goal is to get 80% of the people that are registered as Republicans, Democrats to come out for the next election. So if you're not registered, please see it. We'll be happy to help you register. And if you have any questions about that, you can call me personally. There are school taxes increases that are coming. The Lenape Regional High School has indicated there's going to be a 5.7% increase. Shamong is the hardest hit of all the towns locally. There's a tax increase of approximately 11.89 cents. That means if your house is assessed at $310,000, your taxes are going to go up $376 in one shot, and that's coming in next year. I've been in contact with Carol Birnbaum, and Brian, thank you we had a little bit of a snafu. I wanted to get together with her, and we will do that to meet. I'm not blaming the regional high school for the increase. What's going on is the state is mandating that the money that you all pay in this town goes to the big cities like in Camden and Hoboken and what other towns you want to name up? Newark and Patterson. So
Island.
we've reached out for the governor. This is where this is coming from. Hopefully what's going on with the U.S. Supreme Court with the recent decisions will allow us to take control of some of this stuff that they're forcing down our throat. So we are on it. We've been in contact with the governor's office. We understand that the high school is taking a big hit, but I'm not happy at all with having to report that taxes are going to go up substantially just from the school before anything else happens. So that would be an issue you should get involved in, but I wanted you to know in advance this is going on. We've had a couple of signs stolen. Our new Shamong signs, welcome to Shamong, are missing. If any of you have any children that are in college and they have it hanging on their wall, please have it dropped off to me or back here, and we won't press any charges. We will have them do some community service and see if we can use that as an educational event. But we're not happy about that as well, since that was pretty substantial. Were you able to get that through our insurance coverage?
We were.
Okay. So if anybody has that hanging in their kids' room, please get them back to me and we'll work things out together. We have a military banner program that we're proposing. We've been mentioning this for quite some time. We're looking for active or retired or deceased military in Shamong, and we'd like to honor them by putting up their likeness and a welcome to Shamong sign on various of the light stanchions throughout the city, throughout the town. So if you have anybody you'd like to designate, please get a hold of us. You can contact Sue or contact me directly or any of the council members. The T Hill Fire, John is here. He's going to tell you tonight, but I just wanted to publicly thank you and all the firefighters, forest firefighters, local men and women that helped out. There's no injuries, no property damage. And John will give us an update later on as to where we stand with that. And lastly, there's the Carranza Memorial, which is Saturday, and Councilman Neil Wilkinson will be there. Neil, do you know what time it starts?
I think 10.
Okay, so we'll check on the time, but it's a great event to bring your children. Carranza was a Mexican aviator that flew from Mexico City to New York. in, I'm going to say 1930, but it could be, it's around there. And he was hailed as a hero when he got there. It was an unbelievable parade. On his way back, he was leaving and they said, don't go, the weather's bad. And he waited for a day or two, but eventually flew back down and crashed in the Tabernacle Shamong border. So if you ever go down Carranza Road, you'll see the Carranza Memorial. Anyway, it's a great little ceremony. It's often hot, bring some water. But if you're children, it would be a neat thing to go to. So that's Saturday. We think at 10.
It's 1 o'clock.
There you go, 1 o'clock. There you
Yeah,
go. You can
like
sleep
it's-
late.
like it early.
All right, great. You'll be there early.
Like it,
And
food
so
trucks,
that's
too.
all I had for initial comments. Anybody on the board have anything to say? We get started? Okay, at this point, we're going to, we have a proclamation tonight, Sue?
No, we do not.
We do not, okay. I'll open the meeting up to public comment and ask you to be mindful of, how long you speak. We don't have a time limit, and we do that because we want to be as gentle we can and let people say what's on their mind. Just come up to the microphone, speak loudly, identify yourself and your address, and you'll be heard. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is James Gaskell. I'm the owner of the property on the corner of right across the
Yes,
street.
sir, I know that.
Shamong Industrial Park. It's brought to my attention last week in a letter that they're going to start surveying again for the circle that I personally don't think it's needed. And it's really creating a problem for me with how long it's taking. No, they don't answer questions. I've lost 3 potential sales. I can't borrow money to build what I want to build or do anything that I want to do with the property, because as soon as they find out the state's involved, they have plans to do something, taking some of my property, it creates a problem. It's a hardship. So basically, I just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention that I think really Shamong Township, I don't know what you can do, whether it be the engineer, solicitor. If they do go through with the circle, I really think that they should come this way with the circle. So one, it doesn't harm the homeowner, because she's going to have headlights going through her house every night. Anybody heading eastbound, I think it's going to be more of a problem. I personally drove around one of those circles today in Gibbsboro. It's a complete joke. It's a mess. There's signs in the middle of the property. Farm equipment's not going to be able to go anywhere near that intersection, and they do it every day. I think it's a personal, or the intersection is not the problem. It's the people driving through the intersection or not obeying the laws. I've witnessed the intersection or accidents there. And the last one was there. The guy just pulled up, stopped, looked to his left, probably looked to his right. I can't see him, but then he just made a right-hand turn. I'm standing right there, and the car's coming down the road, and he couldn't avoid him. So it's human error is what I'm getting. I don't know how to correct it other than a 4-way stop or a blinking light. We had the same problem at Jackson Road, or not, I'm sorry, Oakshade and Stokes, 30 years ago? Same problem. And that's what it needs. I mean, for them to say that it's not feasible to put a blinking light there or something is ridiculous. And the lady and the engineer that they had here before, I think the township should step up and put them in their place a little bit, because they were complete idiots, to put it bluntly. I mean, that lady had no clue. She couldn't give us an estimate on how much it's going to cost. She hasn't spoke to anybody from the state, has not talked to anybody that I'm aware of. As far as taking properties or taking, because if they take an inch of my property, anything that I want to do there is basically I got to start over. I just got turned down. People walked away that wanted to use it for a sports complex, which I think would be great. And they need every inch of the property. It's the last remaining, well, there's one other remaining property, but it's one of the largest properties in the industrial park, and there is no more industrial. So I think it's a very big hardship to the township to lose that rateable. Because if they take what they want to take, you're going to get maybe a 5,000 square foot building on the property, and that's about it because of water runoff.
Got it.
I think all the water should be diverted this way if they do it. They will already have the ditches down the side of the road, which I know they can't, the water can't leave the property, but it can be diverted this way, and we have plenty of property on this side that's
So
not
you're
being
saying take
used.
more of the county of this property?
Correct. I mean, you're not using it anyway. All you got to do is cut grass out there. So this building's here. It's not going anywhere. You don't need a bigger building. Nothing's really, if you do, you would go out the back, obviously, anyway. So I just think that's a better case, and it would help Judy on the corner with her home. if they move the circle this way to cut back from taking her yard, because they're going to basically destroy her way of living in that home.
Jim,
So-
thank you. I'll tell you, here's the history for those who don't know. This started in, I'm going to say, 2019.
Yeah.
Nobody on the board was here except for me.
Yep.
I voted against the circle. They call it a roundabout. Right?
Roundabout,
Don't
yeah.
call it a circle. We went up to the county and I expressed my displeasure. If you take a look at the Pineland, you'll see all the articles.
I've seen all of it.
we don't need it.
No.
We don't want it. You know, first it was $20 million. Then when I complained about that and brought that public, they said, oh, it's only $2 million.
If you told me here it was $1 million and after about 3 questions of me saying about paving, what you're going to purchase my property for, I said, you're already at 3 million in less than 10 minutes. you
Right,
know, And
right.
she's totally lost. She has no idea. She's wanted to put public water in to water the flower gardens in the middle of it. And I'm like, there's not public water.
We don't
here.
have public water.
Right. So
So,
it's ridiculous. It's
so
absolutely
I'll tell you what, Jim will do. I mean, I'm in
yeah, I
favor
just
of.
want to let everybody know what's going on.
I appreciate it. A couple things. One is we did receive a letter from them dated June 26th. And it was, and I'm not even sure our solicitor has seen this yet, but it was addressed to Shamong Township, but under Doug's name. So our clerks didn't open, but basically it says that they're coming along and they're ready to start doing their property survey.
Yeah.
That's number one.
Just so you know, I'm fighting it with an attorney. I'm going to fight it tooth and nail.
All right, that's the way,
Yeah.
you know, that was gonna be
Yeah.
my next point is that if the neighbors want to get together and file a lawsuit, I will support you in
Yeah,
whatever way that
appreciate
I can. I think it's unnecessary. I don't
Yeah.
care if it's not our money. They say it's federal money.
It's federal.
It's our money,
Yeah.
but that's why the country's gone down the drain
Right,
because of
but-
that thinking.
Well, if it was a different governor, this would not be happening.
Yes, sir. And
It would
hopefully
a
that'll
phone
be
call
over
and be
soon,
gone.
hopefully. I did ask them to put up the blinking sign,
Yeah.
you know, which is easy.
Yep.
It's a $500 fix and also offered to pay for it personally.
Right.
But we had to get approval from them because it's their county
County,
property,
county,
which they
yeah.
wouldn't do. And the other issues, you know, we could easily reduce the speed limit,
Yes.
put a 4-way stop, put a blinking
I
light.
think that's a good idea too, a good point. The speed limit, I think, is 50 out there. I'm not quite sure, but
Yeah.
it really shouldn't be 50. I mean, that's ridiculous because
Yeah.
people do 60, 65.
Right.
And if I travel the road every day and I slow down because I know somebody's going to pull out in front of me, it happens all the time.
Yep.
So,
So
I
I
appreciate-
apologize to you
Yep.
and
No,
to
no,
our
it's
new
not- I
neighbor
know it's not the
across the
township.
street as well.
Yep.
And I will personally do what I can to help you.
I
And
appreciate it.
maybe I would consult with our solicitor at some point in time of whether or not it would be proper to have another vote of the current dais to find out whether or not Shamong would take a different position.
If they do take a position, I really think that the township engineer should probably guide them a little bit to better, if they're going to go through with it, to make it a better situation for the
Yeah.
township, because I know if they put anything in the middle of that intersection, it's going to get wiped out. The first farmer that comes down there is not even going to care. He's
We
gonna
have
run right
fire trucks and we got,
everything,
yeah,
everything.
it's,
Just a complete, so if the engineer could give them some advice, because they have no clue of what they're doing, they want to put sidewalks in. The sidewalks are never going to go anywhere.
right.
You know, as you know, there's nothing that can be built and they're never going to put sidewalks. So why waste taxpayers' dollars of putting in sidewalks, which they might be mandated to do so?
That's mandatory now, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but I mean, to go around, I get that, but you know, they're talking about when the future building, they thought there's going to be future building and there's not going to be future building.
Right.
With the sidewalks are needed, so. All right, I appreciate it.
All right. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Jim.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming out. Anybody else have anything to say? Good evening.
Mayor, Council, Chris Thomas, 8 Woodgate Drive. This is my 48th year living in Shamong, born and raised. You can call it Shamong, you can call it Indian Mills, I call it home. I fought tooth and nail after college to move back here. I rented, I did everything humanly possible. I grew up on this road, 138 Willow Grove Road. What I picture as my home is why my wife and I came back to this town. I don't see my home from my own home anymore. Over on Woodgate Drive, we have something going on that does not define or is not defined by Shamong and Indian Mills anymore. You've got people like myself and my neighbors. I am very much pro dirt bike, pro ATV. I raced for Meteor right here in Shamong, Indian Mills. And when it snows, you ride your four-wheeler down the road nice and slow and you wave to the trooper as you go by. You treat things with respect. But on our on Woodgate Drive, we've got street bikes, dirt bikes, and ATVs coming out of a single residence and on a baseball speed gun doing 70 miles an hour and a 15-mile-an-hour. Now, we've done as neighbors everything we can possibly do. And as directed by our own town as directed by the state police, as directed by common sense, you talk to the neighbor first. You then talk to other neighbors. You try to work things out peacefully, neighborly, like Indian Mills and Shamong should. Until just last week, we saw a camp bus letting a kid off, and an ATV goes around the bus with the red lights on and almost hits him. You call the state police. Some of the greatest individuals in our state, serving our state, protecting our state, making our state better, when many people are trying to make our state worse. And they're too strung with other crazy things like fireworks in the woods to even come and help. When I was a kid, people would talk about Indian Mills. When it snowed, Gary and Snooky always got the roads ready. You want your well done, you know who to call. You want your electric fixed, you know who to call. When the wind blows, people show up on your property with chainsaws. And as some of the other neighbors could attest that are seated here tonight, in the past 10 days, every single one of the 24 hours that reside in a single day, we have people revving engines, working on machines at all hours, becoming a nuisance, a disturbance, and ruining why people pay so much to stay here. Mayor said it very well. Taxes are going up. My kids went through the Indian Mill School. I went through the Indian Mill School. I was the first graduating class of the middle school. My kids went to Seneca. I hate high taxes. But when it gives you a great product, you kind of grin and bear it. I pay my taxes in this town. I'm tired of bearing it because I'm not grinning anymore. So I'm coming to the individuals that were elected and I'm begging for help. We've got, and I will not pass judgment because I do not know for certain. I will allow you to form your own opinions, educated men and women. But you've got, in a 24-hour period of time, 27 vehicles stopping, staying for a short period of time, going into an abandoned trailer, walking out, getting back in their vehicle, and the ATVs tear off, come back, and the cycle starts again. You form your own opinions. State police did. They just got to catch it. I'm tired. I'm hurt. And this is my home. And you're the only people that I can turn to now. So I'm begging for help. I don't even know what the help is. But Indian Mills Shamong is why I brought my kids here. It's why my parents raised me here. I don't see it on my road anymore. In fact, 10 minutes before my neighbors and I drove here to come tonight, the noise was so bad. My wife, my kids, we stopped, we left our patio, went inside, turned the Phillies game on. You can't hear the Phillies game. That's not Indian Mills. To each their own.
Chris, I'll contact the police personally and go visit with them. I believe that our inspector has already been out to the property and that violations either have been issued or are on the way. I understand there's
I
other,
want to be neighborly, sir.
well, I can see by your approach, I understand that.
I
And
want to be.
those people are very fortunate that you've been this patient. So
16 years I've lived in that home.
I got you. So we will do something. So I'll personally
sir.
reach out for the commander at the base. We already have our inspector on it. As I say, they've either been provided with violations already or they will very shortly. We'll see if we can get that. Is there some kind of big equipment on the side and, dilapidated
There's a punch list
RVs?
that we could go over,
Yeah.
but I want to be respectful of time.
Yes,
That
sir.
list is long
And
and
We've
painful.
been working on several things at that property, if it's something we've talked about before,
And I want to be clear.
and we need the state
and I-
police's assistance.
Yeah, I do not want to. I don't want to be unneighborly. When I was a kid, we ran our dirt bikes over. I'd run down Piper's Lane here. But when Piper would come out and say, slow down, you know what we did? We slowed down. We said we were sorry. My mom made me shovel the walk for Mrs. Piper. You can't push in a town where people move to have that way of life. And you push them over the edge. I'm not new. Born, raised, and I'm tired. I appreciate any help. I'll come back. I support you all because you're here for us. I thank you for your time.
Thanks, Chris. Anybody have any comments? Okay, thank you, Chris. Anybody else? Hi, good evening.
Bill Ryan, my wife Anastasia Zakara, we're One Stony Creek. Seems to be the similar topic. We actually live across from the sand pit. Where on a daily basis, we are calling state police, my wife is called the township. About the constant dirt bikes, and it's not just one or two, it's an ongoing. Track almost where it sometimes sounds like echo. The other part of the challenge is that it is now becoming where people are showing up with trucks, unloading the bikes, they're riding around the track. You call the state troopers. And I think this is a waste of public resources that I'm calling a state police to come and address this issue, who tell us, yeah, they can basically yell and tell them to move it on. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But they're also using the public roadways to run up and down. As it was pointed out, they are not doing the speed limit. And many times there are multiples. It's an ongoing, every day, starts at 8 o'clock in the morning, runs constant. In the summer, clearly it's worse. I understand that your resources are limited, but I think the person who owns that property should be put on notice that they have to secure that property in some form or fashion. The second piece is, we've met with the state police. They have also shared that they have limited powers in this. And there's some challenges they have. But they also say that, well, you have the park rangers who have vehicles that actually can go after. But it's a constant situation where everybody's in their own silos are pointing at the finger. It can't be me, it has to be that person. This part has to stop. We've only been here 10 years. And at some point, it's a question as to whether or not we stay another 10 years, because it becomes so unbearable. But the other part of it is, I understand that there's a conversation going on for some economic development in that area. We actually support anything that would be smart, wise economic development. I'm not saying just put anything there, but that would help secure whatever properties, whatever incentives, whatever encouragement could be moved along with your economic development strategies, we would welcome. But similar to what the gentleman before me just said, we're at the wit's end. We're coming to the people who were responsible for leading this community. We're asking for your help. One, at a minimum, to have your solicitor send a letter to the landowner to say, you have to do more than just simply put up a sign that says, call the police. Because the phone number on there just calls the state police, who have no idea why you're calling. So that doesn't even go to red line. The other issue now is there's dumping.
So I just want to jump in here. I actually have taken pictures. There are multiple boxes and cases of beer just being thrown on the side of the road. As of late, last week, there are now hefty contractor-sized garbage bags on the side of the road. And when I called, when Sue was on vacation, and I believe her name is Lisa, the tax collector, she actually resides in the community directly to the left of that, the trailer park. She actually told me and shared she can no longer walk her dog there because of what's strewn about.
Right on that sign road?
No, she actually,
Where the
so
dumping is happening?
the dumping is right
Both
in
places.
plain sight, so what I have on my phone. So we've never called for gunshots, but our neighbor, because Mr. Mayor, you live in our neighborhood, number 2 Stony Creek, our neighbor has called just as often as we do, which is every day, and Sue knows this. I'm tired. I'm done. And like my husband just said, I will reiterate, everybody's pointing the finger, but yet you have an absentee landlord who basically is not here and has no clue as to the level of what is taking place there. And I want to point this out. I believe it was 2 years ago. There was a group that came in with pickup trucks. They parked on our neighbor's grass with their pickup truck. They unloaded their recreational vehicles. I came out because as the one gentleman was taking his bike off the rear of that pickup truck, he thought it was okay to get on our lawn, go over our irrigation system and start popping wheelies. They went ahead and moseyed on into the sand pit. We called the state police. It became a screaming and yelling match where they were threatening my husband and myself, therefore leading us now, our entire property is now wired with security. And they waited, they went down where you live, they did the turnaround in the court, After the state troopers left, they very slowly came by because we were still outside with our neighbor. They pointed him and they said, "We know where you live." This is absurd. I've had it. Sue knows all too well how often I call. We met with one of the lieutenants last week up at Red Lion. They shared the same exact solution. Mr. and Mrs. Casper at 362 Main Street, Lumberton, which is quite a ways from here, who do own that property, are basically clueless as to what's happening. They need to be held accountable. And no, they can't put a fence because let's face it, they're just going to come in and maybe they need to get private security to sit there. And this was also suggested by our state police. My life isn't going to be threatened. It's ridiculous. And I have it all on tape.
Did you happen to get their license plate?
Well, here's the other thing, which I found very interesting, and this is going to go down a deep, dark rabbit hole, which is once again, the finger pointing. When that happened, they were from Atlantic County, and I believe I overheard them talking because not one, but 4 state troopers, 8 state troopers, all of that resource came for this matter. As they were at the curb and they were getting their credentials, the gentleman driving the pickup truck could not produce registration. Now, we've been told multiple stories. We can ticket them if we're able to catch them. Clearly, we don't want them chasing anybody. They can't go in the woods back there. You know that as well as I do. Apparently, he let them go with so much as a warning.
Did they get their information that we can get a copy of? Did it tell you?
We have no idea
Got it.
because they keep saying.
So this is,
what
I've lived
about-
here 32 years. This is an issue that has, been going on. I hear not as loud as you do, but I hear it as well. And I
have a
think about
recording
you
if you
guys.
want it.
I could play it right now,
I-
how loud it is.
I
We're
know.
in the vacuum there.
I actually banged on your door, I'm gonna say 3 weeks ago. If you saw a guy with a cap and long hair, that was me, to knock on your door, just because I wanted to acknowledge, your complaint. And I know what's going on there. It's, whether or not we can have them put a fence up, but like you say, they'll cut it or go around it. I've been up there when people are riding and asked them to leave, and for the most part, they've been respectful. It's a long-standing problem. I will say that we have in plans to put up a solar field there, and it's something we've been working on. And it'll be so that we won't see it as we come out of our house. It'll still be a tree line there, arborvitae or giant thujas, and that'll all be fenced, and there'll be solar panels, and hopefully that'll cure the issue. That's something we've been working on. Mr. Solicitor, how many years would you say?
Several at this point.
Yeah.
We'll also point out that they're not, that entity that's interested in it is not solely interested in solar, if solar is not something that can be achievable. So they're looking at other options. We are at the township level, I think, incredibly flexible to hear what they might propose. The issue is we're also in the Pinelands, and there are limitations under the Pinelands Commission on what can and can't happen. So I will have a conversation with them this month and report back. They've been under option agreement for years at this point. Maybe ownership would be helpful to the township if they could actually pull the trigger and acquire the property, but I'm not sure, we can't make them do that, but we can certainly have that discussion with them.
Well, the other thing is, I understand it's a 16-acre parcel nearby that there's, it has some sort of development prospects there as well.
Yeah,
Whatever land use is going to be permitted, asking them as they're going through this process to make sure that they do everything they can to help secure it. Because they're not gonna want bikes and, ATVs
Yeah, that
running through
property's
place.
pretty much still treed, and that's property
Right.
that's owned by the
Which makes no
township.
sense, yeah.
So they usually don't ride on that. They ride out in the pit area.
Right.
So,
So-
I understand, I hear it, and I think about you guys as well. Sometimes I've walked up there and confronted who's riding, and they've been
We do, too,
respectful.
but it's just.
But,
we're
we're trying to do
limited.
what we can, and we understand.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say. I don't want to make any false promises or overpromise. I don't know what else we can do other
Well,
than,
can we reach out to Mr. and Mrs. Casper, who are clearly not securing the property, correct?
yeah, we can reach out for them. I mean, I don't know whether, can we pass an ordinance that said they have to fence the property because it's vacant or whatever, then, as you know, and already said, just cut the fence and ride in there, but I mean, there's some things perhaps we can do, but hopefully we get this development going, and I think that would be the best thing for all of us.
I think that's the, ultimately the goal, but right now, between now and then, this is an ongoing issue
Yes, sir.
that we have to
Okay,
have more than just somebody saying, we hear you.
I got you.
All
All
right.
right, thank you for
Thank you.
coming out. Thank you. Anyone else have anything to say? Yes, ma'am.
I'm the crazy lady over here that brought that house on the corner.
Yes.
I was not informed. I got a letter from the township saying they was gonna put a four-way stop and a blinky light. I was never told that they were taking that property. I would have a large front of it and moving the driveway much down, taking down the trees. I'm handicapped. I bought that house for a reason. So if that's the case, they're gonna have to buy me out, or they can dig me up, because I'll be in the road. And I did call the county and told them they're not allowed on my property to do any kind of survey. But recently, there was a gentleman on our property parked on the grass measuring stones, and I'm like, who are you? He said, none of your business. I said, you're on my property, it's my business. And he wouldn't acknowledge. I said, well, get off my property, your car is on my grass. And he finally, after we made a threat, got in his car and left. So I don't know what that's about. That's really weird, but there's no way that this can happen. Since Atco Raceway closed, the traffic has decreased immensely. I mean, so much. No more weekend noise, nothing. But when they closed the road up the road and were diverting traffic this way, there were about 12 accidents over that period of time. Now the road's open and everything's fine and quiet again. There's no reason to put a circle in this part of a township. This is a small town. It's just ridiculous. And I have a problem that I was not told this prior to buying, that was in the works. I do also have an attorney about this, the same one that Jim has. It's just not acceptable.
Well, without binding the township, if we can move it, I don't want it at all, right? I'm clear about that. But if we can move the circle so that it's on our property, it doesn't bother me, shouldn't bother the town. I agree. I agree. So the thing you should do is have your attorney file declaratory judgment action and see if you can stop this thing. And I'll do whatever I can to support it. And just say your name for the record. Thank you, Judy. Welcome. All right. Anybody else have any comments? Yes, sir.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
We just by a year ago our 529 O'Shea,
529 O'Shea.
Yeah.
Welcome. What is your name?
Jose Galvez.
Jose?
My-
Josie.
Hi, Josie. Jose and Josie, easy to remember. Welcome to Shamong.
Thank you very much. First I wanted to thank you we have a very good neighbors, me with Mr. Patrick and his wife. I think we get along really good in such a little time. The reason I'm here is because I wanted to know a little bit more about Shamong. We love this place. We used to have a farm in Red Lion Road. I own a trucking business in Red Lion Road. They call it Francocas Valley Trucking. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. The reason I'm here today is because we wanted to have a little bit more information about what can we do or we cannot do in our property. We bought 4 acres of in that property. 3 weeks ago, I submitted a permit to build a small horse barn. We own 6 animals.
6.
Yeah, 2 goats, 3 goats, 2 mini horse and a mini pony. We wanted to give them a home, but we wanted to respect the rules. So when I submit the permit, I got denied. But I wanted to ask the person who helped me, and he said, "Well, the reason is because your whole property it's wetland." And I said, "So what does that mean?" He said, "You can't build anything there." And but I asked him, if you see all around Shamong, it's farmland. Across my house, it's a big farm. In the back of my house, it's not a farm, it's a huge house with pool. And 4 days ago, right, I got my wife, like we have a lot of love for animals. We love animals. My wife she happened to have 2 chickens and 3 roosters. The neighbor of, in the back of our house, we don't know the name. I don't want to point any fingers on anybody. We just wanted to get along and approach my daughter and said that we have to remove those roosters because it's bothering him.
Yeah, so we did it, we removed them out of respect because we wanted to get our information out of the way. And as of now, we do have a place for them to stay. It's not like we just abandoned them. We still have our farm in Red Lion, and that's another process, which is why our animals are still safe, in a barn. But it was Sunday morning, I believe, and it was only me at the house, and he parked right on our property. Didn't introduce himself and just told me, you know what, your roosters are keeping us. It hasn't even been 24 hours. It's the same day that we brought them. And I was like, okay, I'm going to talk to my father and my mom, and then we'll give you a call. Later, we gave him a call because, again, we wanted to get our information settled before. So we removed them. But that was another question because we're just reading about like having the roosters and the chickens on our land. And it seems like we can. So I'm not sure if we can bring them over or not, and that's why we're also here. Regarding what he said about the barn process, we are going to do delineation and stuff like that, try to get approved again, but we're just new. We're trying to get as much as information as possible.
With all the respect, we don't, like I said, I don't try to point no fingers at nobody. I just want to respect all the neighbors. And but that's the reason we are here today, not only to introduce ourselves, it's because I wanted to let everybody know Shamong is a beautiful place that we fall in love and we work hard. And thank God we got the chance to afford that beautiful property. So, but we would like to know what we are allowed to do in our property. We not a noisy, I'm a hardworking person. Now I get up at 1 o'clock in the morning and come back home at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 7 days a week. So I'm never home. When my daughter finished college right now, she's going to medical school to become a vet school. That's what the reason, not only because we love animals, it's because she practice. She take care of her own animals. And that's what we wanted to know. What's the easy process for us? Friendly process for us to at least get approved to have, I don't know, some fencing and some pre-built horse house for them to sleep. I don't ask them to anything.
Okay. I really appreciate you coming in and introducing yourselves, and I'm sorry that perhaps it's been a little bit of a rough road. I would suggest you make an appointment and come in and meet with our inspector.
Okay.
And then, that we're in what's known as the Pinelands. So it's very restrictive as to what we can build in Shamong, which is what makes us special, but it also makes it difficult when you want to build something new. So there's a lot of hoops that you have to jump through. As far as the wetlands, there are very stringent rules about how far away you have to be from an area that's been delineated as a wetlands area. So I think that we would be happy to sit down with you and run through what we think you can do and try and help you. So I'd ask you to just reach out for Ed Toussaint in our office.
Yeah, he's here Tuesday nights until 8. He's actually here now.
Well, we
And I think
already have a
I
meeting.
think I've spoken with you as well about
We
the
have a
wetlands
meeting
there.
with him, but he clearly told us, it's.
Actually, just to mention this, we're running out of options because they are our animals and we're gonna sell our old place. So we met up with him, but he didn't even mention the delineation process to us. I actually kind of had to force that information out. He just basically said, you can't. He showed us the map. It's all wetland. I asked him probably 5-6 times. There's a lady there too. And finally, he told us about delineation. So we almost walked out without even knowing about that process that we could have done. So we did already speak to him, and it just looks like we can't do anything there at all.
Okay, you may want to take a look at private counsel and see if somebody that does zoning and land use can help
Yeah.
you, and they'll be able to explain and help you. But if it's all wetlands, you have an uphill battle.
Yeah, most of it all, we are here to reproduce ourselves.
We really appreciate you coming by and we welcome you, Shamong. I wish that it was, you felt that it was a bit smoother transition for yourselves, but welcome.
Thank
very
you.
much.
All right. Anybody else have anything to say? Then we can start the meeting. Yes, sir.
Timothy McGarvey for Sandstone Court.
Welcome.
I just want to follow up with what Mr. Thomas said. Two properties down. It's since he's moved back, it's been quite interesting over there, and I can hear the noise. I know exactly what Mr. Thomas is talking about. Right now, they have a F-250 sitting up on jacks in the street, like literally right now.
That's actually already been documented by our zoning official.
What, today? Like 20 minutes ago? Before I got here? Because I passed it on my way here.
Yes, it was on his way in because he's been doing it.
Oh, okay, great. All right,
He's been
perfect. Good.
stopping in and checking
But
the
I
property.
just wanted to, you know, as a witness, there's, yeah, it's, you know, it's crazy. And, I hope to see, you know, some kind of, resolution out of this. You know, I know Mr. Thomas is trying to take the correct steps. And I did speak with, a gentleman who's a friend of mine. He's a U.S. Marshal. So he did give some advice on how to maybe contact the DA might be a step as well. So I just want to verify that, you know, this is a problem that in any other town too, that it is a problem and it is a big headache. And I will assist Mr. Thomas and anything he needs and anything I can do, anything you guys need. I would like to get this resolved as well. All right.
Well,
Thanks.
violations are on their way. If they don't comply, they'll be fined. The equipment can be taken. I mean, the fines can be substantial, so.
Small business and farmers are struggling to keep up with rising costs, high taxes, overregulation and inflation. Our elected officials should stand for these crucial parts of our community. One member of this committee chose to do the opposite. He decided to create and hide behind a Facebook page to attack another member of our town who is a business owner and has been here for more than 30 years. Now, I'm going to quote what was posted on Facebook that says, "Is this really what Shamong needs? Another businessman hawking his family's cheap whiskey at a for-profit campaign event." He also used and jeopardized his nonprofit to endorse a candidate, which is another ethical violation, at the same time as calling myself and other members of the Republican Party derogatory terms, which I'm not going to repeat. Just so we're clear, I am no one's mouthpiece. I say exactly what I mean, and it comes from me. It doesn't come from anybody else. So I believe Neil should resign. This is inappropriate behavior for anyone, yet alone an elected official. And that's all I have to say.
Okay. Anybody on the dais want to say anything at this point? Neil?
I had nothing to say.
I'm sorry?
I had nothing to say.
Okay. Anybody else in the public have anything to say? Okay, seeing and hearing none, I will close this meeting of the public comment. That was the longest public comment we've ever had. Congratulations. All right, we're gonna open it up now. If you had your say and you don't want to stay, we won't be, I won't be offended if you guys leave. Well, you're all welcome to stay. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Judy. All right, we're going to move now to items for discussion and possible official action, and I'll move as quickly as I can. The approval of the June 11th, 2024 regular and executive session meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Mr. Zender,
Yes.
Mr. Wilkinson.
Yes.
Mr. Woods,
Yes.
Ms. Poseidis,
Yes.
and Mr. Croce.
Yes, public hearing and final adoption of the 2024 Shamong Township Budget Resolution 2024 R-64.
Rob, would you like to?
Congratulations for sitting through all that, and yeah,
Nobody does.
Budget as it stands, we have a
Cut out first.
slight increase in the tax
I
rate.
don't know that.
Last year, the tax rate was 9.5 cents. The proposed rate in this budget is 9.9 cents. Which are still in the levy cap. Probably not for too long, but you're still in the levy cap. For the average taxpayer, it's an increase of about $12. So bear in mind.
So that's $12 increase from Shamong Township directly to the taxpayers. Annual per, well, so,
$310,000 home. Last year, they paid about $294. This year will be $306.
got it.
$12.
Okay, so just so we're clear, can you explain what the levy cap is?
The levy cap is a cap on the levy, and our levy is very small. We've stayed under 10 cents. If you
Excuse me,
spend
Rob.
10 cents,
Can you step over to the mic? Because we're not picking you up. I'm sorry.
if you stay under the levy cap, you're not restricted by the levy cap. Once you go above 10 cents, which we'll probably do next year, and so the year after, that budget will be restricted to increasing the levy by not more than 2%. However, there's factors that come into play. If your debt service goes up over the prior year or capital improvements, so there are different things that will happen.
Yep, got it. Well, we're interested in keeping our taxes as low as possible, as you know, so
Sure.
at $12, I think everybody would think that that's a
Yeah.
reasonable increase for our town. Now that doesn't include Burlington County. It doesn't include the library
No,
fees.
Just
It
ours.
doesn't include the school taxes. So,
Okay.
all right. What else you got, Bob?
There's another cap, there's an appropriation cap, and our limit on that is 2,369,000, and we're at 2,199,000, or 169,000 under. That's the in-cap appropriations. You can't exceed that, so we're well under that.
If we had the need for additional, let's say $35,000, is that in the budget now, or we would have to increase taxes? If we wanted to have an expenditure of an additional $35,000,
We'd have to do it within this budget. We
Got
just
it.
can't exceed it.
you can't do.
You
it.
just
Has to be
can't
within the
increase
budget.
it without,
Okay.
yes.
All right. Anybody on the dais have any comments or questions?
Yeah, it's for the public to give, if they have any
Yeah,
questions.
that
Yep.
hearing.
All right, we're going to open the meeting up to the public. If you have any questions about this issue, while we got our expert here, please come on up. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You guys do a great job keeping the taxes where they are. They'll be back in the very near future.
We'd love to have you back, Jim. All right, great. That's great. We're looking for, and you know, what's wild is we actually having a lot of, I'll say a lot, but a few young people who went through Seneca that grew up in Indian Mills that have moved back to Shamong, which is a beautiful thing to see and hard to do now because the costs of the properties are so high. So I'm pleased about that. We'd love to have you back.
Jimmy's long before Seneca.
I know that.
Long before Seneca existed.
Do we need, anybody else have any questions or comments just on the final adoption of the township budget? Okay, so do we need to have a motion on this?
Yes, we do.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
Mr. Woods,
Yes.
Ms. Poseidis,
Yes.
Mr. Wilkinson,
Yes.
Mr. Zender,
Yes.
Mr. DeCroce.
Yes, next, we're going to talk about the online auction of some surplus property and the real results of those, that auction.
Yes, we sold a Ford F-250. It was a 2015 truck with 149,000 miles for 11,269 and 69 cents. We also sold a 1987 International sewer vac truck, which was not, the truck part was running fine, but the vac portion wasn't. That sold for $1,350. We had a lot of various computer equipment that we removed the hard drives on. That sold for $220. Hikvision security cameras, they're the ones that the Burlington County JIF no longer would insure us if we didn't get rid of them. We got, good news is that biggest portion of that was paid for on those cameras by the county. We only paid for the ones on the Public Works building, but we only got $132 back for them. And the last thing we had on there was a 1991 linear court recording system. We received no bids on that, and I would just ask that the committee, I don't think it's worth putting back out for bid. They extended it. I just that you would give us permission to destroy that.
What is it?
It's an old courtroom recording equipment that was from
Oh,
1991.
Okay,
It's
anybody want it?
it's a paperweight. It's a great paperweight, but other than that, it really holds no value
Yeah, I
to
would
us.
think that if you can't donate it to somebody that could use it, we destroy it.
Doug, I don't need to vote on that just to have a directive enough.
That's fine.
Okay, all right. Just want to verify. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next is the installation of the gate on Grassy Lake Road, access to Stony Creek Recreation Complex. As you know, we had a little bit of damage in the past 6 months or so with dirt bikers going out on the ball fields. And a couple of the IMA guys and gals came in, and Chris, I think you're involved in that as well, to raise the issue. So I'm happy to report that there is an installation of the gate. And I think that's going to help solve the problem. And Sue, can you tell us the Shamong company that was involved in that?
Yeah, Indian Mills Fence Company, they previously were ABS fencing and they have been in our community for decades. And occasionally he will do some things pro bono for us. And this was something that was a little bit above and beyond. So I definitely wanted to recognize him. It was 16-foot wide, 5-foot high cantilever fence along Grassy Lake Road. And he went chain link going back into the woods about 45 feet. So he did that all as a donation to us. And like I said, over the time I've been with the community as in this capacity, he's done that probably 6 or 8 times. And sometimes it's just an easy fix and sometimes it's a little bit something bigger like this, but just wanted to make you aware.
And what is his name?
Sal Gomez.
Okay, so we want to publicly thank Sal Gomez. His business is you come down Tuckerton Road and make a right on 206, right on the right-hand side. If you need any wood or fencing or anything like that, go see him before you go down to Home Depot or Lowe's, and we appreciate that he's made that donation. Next, we're going to do the approval of the $6,300 for fence repairs, damaged vinyl split rail fencing at both Stony Creek, which is $3,600, and Dingletown, which is $2,700, for a total of $6,300. As you walk Stony Creek Park, you're going to see that a lot of the plastic rails have been broken and the tops are smashed. So we have to kind of reinforce that with our children, that they need to be respectful of the property. That's the latest damage that's going on, and it's unfortunate.
And we had similar damage over at the Dingletown complex. That one looks like maybe there was an ATV or something involved as well, or maybe a truck backed into it and just took out several sections of fencing throughout.
Yeah. So it's
So we put the
unfortunate.
fencing up for a reason, trying to protect the fields because it costs thousands of dollars of damage every year to fields. And now they're just finding a different way in by blasting through a fence, costing us a bunch of money again.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen lawlessness in our country, and these kids are watching YouTube videos and acting stupid. So if you have children or neighbors' kids, it's important to just take them aside if you see something going on, or just educate them or praise them when they're doing something right. So, all right, we need a vote, a motion to see if we can get these fences repaired.
I'll make a motion to repair the fences.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Mr. Zender,
Yes.
Mr. Woods.
Yes.
Mr. Wilkinson.
Yes.
Ms. Mazitis,
Yes.
Mr. DeCroce.
Yes, next is the approval of the municipal clerk to attend a full-day seminar at the total cost of $68.
Oh.
Big money.
I try to find the cheap ones.
Can we have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Mr. Wilkinson.
Yes.
Ms. Mazitis.
Yes.
Mr. Woods.
Yes.
Mr. Zender,
Yes.
Mr. DeCroce.
Yes. Now we'll go to resolutions 20.
Pardon me, Mayor. Just wanted to add, I sent an email to you late in the day. We received notice from the Department of Agriculture that they would like to, our permission to do an egg mass survey for the municipality. I asked if we could put this on tonight's agenda after the fact because this was already, the agenda was already out and set when I received this notice. And they need our response by August 5th, which is, we meet on August 6th. So, do we need to do a vote to put it on the agenda?
No.
Just,
Fine, we can.
okay. So, yeah, it would just be that, we have the option to, participate in a egg mass survey for gypsy moth specifically, or not to participate in the survey. There's no cost to the survey. And they do see some egg masses in our area. They want to have a closer look. And if you do not participate in this egg mass count, then you would not qualify for any state funding. The only cost to us is I meet with Mr. Soltowski, who I've met with him many times over the years. Give him a couple of copies of our municipal map, and then he reports back to us with a report a couple months later.
So they would only go on public property. They don't go on the private property.
They just drive the roads between aerial and from drive through. They make their determinations. I don't think they ever step on any private properties. But what I'm looking for is if yes or no, if you want to participate this, and just directing me to sign and submit the documentation to the
I would
state.
say yes, but I'd say let's put it to a motion and have a vote.
Yeah, I would strongly encourage a yes. What, in 2008, we had over $200,000 in municipal
do.
funds going towards this, and then in 2009, 100,000, so.
Yeah,
this
it
is
was
a-
it really leveled us and it was actually the reason why we started having a local purpose tax. You know, other than it took a big jump and then we were able to back it down, but like I said, since 2009, we've been creeping up a little bit more.
Taxes only go one way.
Mm.
We're trying to change that as well. Okay, can we have a motion if there's no other questions?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Mr. Wilkinson?
Yes.
Mr. Zender?
Yes.
Mr. Woods?
Yes.
Ms. Mazitis?
Yes.
Mr. DeCoche?
Yes, next we're going to move the resolutions 2024 R-60, which authorizes the change order number 1 to Arawak Paving Company related to the At Zion Road Phase 1 project.
So this was actually a reduction of $4,932.31 of the contract amount, making the new contract amount $143,967.79.
Okay, and the road looks pretty good. So that's our Phase 1.
Mhm.
So Anthony, good job on that.
Yeah, thanks. And since we're under budget, I believe we're gonna try to, and this is all fairly funded. This is a grant that was received. We're gonna try to maximize that grant and try to increase the extent of the pavement to maximize that grant.
So for everybody that's here, if you see Grassy Lake Road, all of that, it costs several million. I think we're in excess of $3 million, which I can't believe. But we pretty much cured the problem that was there regarding the flooding. If anybody that lives here knows that. Please do the speed limit there. It's 25 miles per hour. And also all of the road work we're doing at Sign Road, we're able to get funded through the work of Susan and Anthony, our engineer, funded from the state. So we're actually being the beneficiary of some of the extra 25-cent gas tax that we're all paying. But at least we're getting something back, and I think we're actually getting a fair shake from the state on that. So I'd like to thank them for that. Can we have a motion on 2024 R-60?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, who moved that?
That was
Me.
Mr.
Okay,
Woods.
Brian, second.
Second.
Mr. Zender?
Yes.
Mr. Woods?
Yes.
Mr. Wilkinson?
Yes.
Ms. Mazitis?
Yes.
Mr. DeCroce?
Yes, 2024 R-61, which authorizes the change order number 1 to Arawak Paving related to the At Zion Road Phase 2 project. Anthony, what's up with that?
I'll let Sue cover the numbers. since she
Okay,
knows
we
that.
have a credit of $9,146.30. This reduction reduces the contract amount to $188,553.70.
So similar to the last one, we came in a little bit under budget. We're gonna try to fill in that gap to maximize our grant. So we're under budget and we're gonna extend paving limits.
Perfect. All right, great. Any questions or comments? If not, can we have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Wilkinson?
Yes.
Ms. Mazitis?
Yes.
Mr. Woods?
Yes.
Mr. Zender?
Yes.
Mr. DeCroce?
Yes, and very rare that we come in under budget. So how about that? It's pretty
Got
amazing.
good prices.
Yeah, so it's 13 grand to our favor.
Yeah.
That'll get us a few feet more.
Yes.
Next is 2024 R-62, which authorizes the cancellation of property tax overpayments for delinquencies of less than $10.
This is an annual resolution and just keeps our records a little bit cleaner.
Yep. Okay. Any questions or comments? If not, can we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Ms. Poseidis,
Yes.
Mr. Woods,
Yes.
Mr. Wilkinson.
Yes.
Mr. Zender,
Yes.
Mr. DeCroce.
Yes, 2024 R-63, which authorizes the issuance of bond anticipation notes, Series 2024. Or as Joe Biden would say, Series 2020.
So we have in the new amount to be loaned, 180,000 remaining in the 2016 road program that was originally $1 million. We have $95,000 remaining in the acquisition for equipment and construction of the cemetery, and 720,000 left in the 2022 road program. So we're looking for 995,000.
Okay, any questions or comments? We know what the interest rate on that would be?
Well, that's what we'll find out. Yeah,
After
we
we-
go out to bid.
Yeah.
We were getting much more favorable interest rates, but as the economy changed, so did the interest rates that we were able to get. I don't recall what last year's were. 4 or 5? 4.4, okay.
Okay,
You have any guess at what we'll look at?
Probably around the same.
Okay.
Most of mine is down in the 5%. Not long ago, they were under 1%. So,
yeah.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments? If not, can we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Mr. Woods,
Yes.
Mr. Wilkinson.
Yes.
Ms. Poseidis,
Yes.
Mr. Zender,
Yes.
Mr. DeCroce.
Yes, next is 2024 R-65, which is a self-review of the 2024 annual municipal budget.
And 2 years out of 3, we get to do a self-review. The third year, the state does our review, and this is a year for us. A required resolution to submit our budget. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, it could be required. I think we get, last year we didn't get reviewed, this year we did, and next year.
Okay. All right. Any questions or comments? If not, can we have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Mr. Zender,
Yes.
Mr. Wilkinson,
Yes.
Mr. Woods,
Yes.
Mr. Mazitis, Ms. Mazitis, sorry,
Yes.
Mr. DeCroce.
Yes,
Unanimous.
2024 R-66, which is authorizing resolution to serve as a letter of support for BioGuax, BIOGUYAX LLC for property located at 7 Willow Grove Road, Block 24, Lot 1, and to further certify zoning. Any details on that, Sue?
Doug and I would kind of put this together, knowing that we had previously done a letter of support on this property, but some of the parties have changed.
So if the address doesn't seem familiar to you, it's the old diner property. We did do a letter of support last year. They came in, I believe some representative again tonight. I don't know if they want to say anything to the committee, but basically the proposal is slightly modified. There's going to be another entity who would be operating on the site. And that would be a Class 1 cultivation and Class 2 manufacturing operation. I think in terms of impact on the municipality, the neighborhood, it's really not going to be significant.
That's not true. There's no cultivation at that site. There's a dispensary that was granted at the first store and the processing is at the diner. So that's it, cultivation. There's
So
no-
processing would be the making of, what would you call them, gummies?
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Can we just get your name for the record since you're?
Good. Welcome,
evening.
Bruce.
My name is Bruce Sussman. I welcome this meeting because you guys have been very, very cordial and understanding that we're here to make a classy place, bring in lots of dollars. You guys do a great job of saving money. I can see it, I hear it, I was at the whole entire meeting. And we really want to just make this pleasant and nice for the community and do things for the community besides what we're doing behind closed doors and open doors, because the dispensary will be open to everyone and the processing facility will not.
Can you just give a quick overview then for what's going to be happening on the site and who's going to be operating out of what building?
Yes, Mr. Tyler Adams.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tyler Adams, 300 Hoffman Road, Port Murray, New Jersey. Thank you guys for having me here today. I am the owner and operator of BioGaiax LLC. So we'll be producing cannabis products. We'll be manufacturing them, extractions, not necessarily just edibles, but will be like vapes, vape pens, and things of that nature. So with the sample letter of support, or the draft letter of support, there was one thing that I noticed, and I just wanted to get clear understanding of. I did indicate that I would like to utilize the kitchen for operation. Sorry, I need to speak in the mic. The kitchen for the operation, but that would just be for the extraction portion. I would like to utilize the entire diner facility for manufacturing, whether that be for break rooms for employees and things, or expansion to take up more space for extraction, or maybe, yeah. So things of that nature. So I don't know.
So is the intent for that business to be the sole operator out of the diner, or is there going to be shared space?
Shared space.
Okay.
We have a very competent partner from California that's been doing this for 8 to 9 years. I've known him for several years. He's coming in with the equipment after we do everything 100% by the books, by the state.
And is BioGaiax solely operating out of the diner building and no other
No other
building on
place.
site?
The
But
diner-
but there will be operations related to the other parts of the,
The thrift store
yeah.
is the dispensary. That's
Right.
about 960 square feet. There is a building right behind there, that is 700 square feet. That's going to be the security, the office, and we wanted to make sure that everyone realized that we're keeping a close separation of the two.
Okay, so I think the state regulations are the controlling element with respect to how that within the building. For our purposes, I'm not sure, you guys can decide as a policy matter if you have any concern, but I think they're both going to be doing essentially similar type of operations within that building. For the outside world, it's not going to have any impact. And hopefully the increased activity means increased revenue to the municipality under the cannabis program.
Immediately.
So I'm just gonna reference in our resolution that we'll remove class 1 with respect to BioGaiax,
I think we did that with the,
the revised version.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
remember it was back and forth a couple times. So
Okay, yeah, I might
Yeah.
have an outdated version.
Yeah.
then. Okay, and then did anybody have any questions on what's been presented?
Nope, I think that's fairly clear. Gentlemen, did you want, anybody else want to say anything?
Larry.
Hey, guys, Larry Giverson,
Hi, Larry, welcome.
longtime resident, I guess 7 generations now, so I've been here 58 years. I was fortunate enough, when these guys came in, I was fortunate enough that I am the neighbor. Introduced myself to Bruce, is how this all started. We then, let's flash forward 3 months, I'm actually now part owner of the company. And I know that was something that the township had talked about, bringing some of the money back into the town. So I'm the local eyes and ears, let's say. I'm also helping with the layout and design and all that kind of stuff. So with that said, the something in the resolution had talked about we have to go in front of the joint
Land use board.
land.
Joint land use board.
Yeah, and right there.
So do you want to?
So,
What is that requirement going to be?
it's a site plan application. Every business that goes in is operating any new type of business has to go in just so that they can understand and have a document on file.
Perfect.
This is how it's operating. This is where the parking is gonna happen. If you're having public come in, if you need employee parking, where is that? Is there enough parking on site?
Yeah, we'll have that
It's-
all by next month, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the
And
architectural-
our boards, I think historically been very business friendly and easy to deal with.
I think okay, we can take care of that. The third building that Bruce had mentioned is the little building behind. What we noticed in the resolution, it says that the old thrift shop is dispensary, which is what we're doing, and the diner is processing, which is what we're doing, but the whole diner, not just the kitchen. There was nothing asked for or said about that building,
I
so.
think this is really just to add biogaiacs to the
Gotcha, okay.
picture. You've
You
already
just
got
want
a
to get
letter.
that blocked
Yeah,
out.
you
Okay,
still
good.
got that prior 2023 resolution is
It's
still.
Still hold.
Yep,
This is an amendment.
it's an addition to.
Addition to that, great.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's all we need.
Yeah. Anybody else want to say anything? You good?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody on the board have any questions or
Thank you,
comments?
everybody.
Larry, I've
That's
been
fantastic
working with
and
Larry,
very
and Larry's
informative.
been, but I appreciate working with you, and we're happy that we got a local guy as well. Welcome.
Best of luck, guys.
So
Okay.
what is the
Still need a motion on it.
relationship between with South Jersey Bud then? Is it just two
What happens is that Rusty Cupster's wife owned the license. And if you want to take that minority and take it to the state to change, it's going to take another 3 or 4 months. So when we went to minority, as you know, I've been backing the minority because I believe everyone deserves, everything should be a fair game. So what we did was South Jersey Bud has been changed from Rusty's minority group to my group. South Jersey Bud LLC, and it's a minority owned corporation that has the dispensary and the processing under its veil. Simple. We're just going to keep the two on the same property. Transparent books. Processing is going to have a set of books. Dispensary is going to have a POS system. State troopers have all the cameras on there. There's almost no way to steal. We're gonna have surveillance. It goes right to state police. So we're gonna do a really nice, elegant job. And you guys are gonna be so pleased. And the revenue that we're gonna generate is gonna blow your mind. It really will. And we're gonna give back almost double what we discussed. Because I believe it says we have to give up 2%. We're gonna give 3%, and if it's a boom like I believe, we might even double it, make it 4%.
We certainly can use it. Do you have a timeline as to when you're looking to open?
Oh, yeah, in the next.
Can you share that with-
90 days, provided everyone, you guys have been wonderful. There's now you have to get your conception plan. And your zoning guy, is the zoning gentleman here today?
He's here, well, he's not here anymore. He left at 8 o'clock.
Was he at this meeting?
No.
Okay, so we have to. Tomorrow, the next day, we will have our transformation. And then we go take all of our information, load it up. And it goes up to the state for our licensing. They have 60 to 90 days. If it's you guys, it would be 61. If it's them, it could be 89. And then there's a 1 month review. So the CRC comes in and says, okay, everything's up. And we're doing everything 100% by the books. And it should go very quickly. I'm hoping the grand opening is October 1st. That's what we're shooting for.
Just so you're aware, to get on the land use board agenda, I would need everything the end of this month to be on the August agenda.
Yeah,
Your
We're
site
gonna-
plan,
yeah, that's getting done this week. We're
Okay.
gonna be-
Make sure you address every item on the checklist so it's deemed complete. Or you'll be delayed further and we don't want that for
It'll
you.
be another month.
Right,
That's-
You don't want that. So just ride your professionals.
Yeah, I'm gonna come forward to you, and make sure that the checklist is.
Yeah.
every box is
and
checked.
just make sure you have, an engineer with you that
Oh,
is
absolutely.
knowledgeable with the Pinelands. That would be
Um,
beneficial.
Right, but we're not changing anything of the outside structure. The only thing we're trying to do is incorporate the back room with the front room for security purposes,
Mhm.
but we don't want to have any delays in any kind.
Okay, well, as far as structural issues for building code and UCC code, which is state mandated, not,
Right.
yeah,
So I have to have my lawyer and my
your engineer,
engineer and the architect all.
yeah, on the same
all
page.
board right now.
Yeah,
And
I don't,
if
you
you
know,
would like
we
your
don't,
engineer to contact us to discuss
I'd
anything,
love a card.
we could talk about what you need, so you come in prepared, come in complete. Because there are things that are gonna have to be reviewed. You're gonna have to look for ADA accessibility to your buildings that are gonna be publicly accessed, which could be something you would have to do for your site plan.
I'm a contractor as well.
Yeah, so you know, and have your engineer contact us and we'll help you guys out and try to get you
Everyone very
on the board to get it complete.
Excellent.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you very much.
Anybody have any other questions or comments? If not, can we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Anybody on the board? If there's no second, the motion dies.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Mr. Woods,
Yes.
Mr. Zender,
Yes.
Mr. Wilkinson,
Yes.
Ms. Mazitis,
Yes.
Mr. DeCroce.
Yes. All right, next we're going to go to the ordinances 2024-9-9, second reading and public comment for an ordinance amending chapter 110-124 of the Township Code of the Township of Shamong relating to low intensity recreational use to clarify amendments made under ordinance 2023-13, implementing certain recommendations of the 2023 master plan reexamination report adopted August 23. June 11, 2024, planning board reference was incomplete and carried to the July 9th, 2024, and the joint land use board referral issued on June 18th, 2024 via the joint land use resolution 2024-17. Boy, that's a mouthful.
I know.
Can you decipher that,
I'm
Mr.
gonna try to
Solicitor?
keep it as simple as possible. We have through the master plan process, there was a change in the law that's referenced in the ordinance that allowed for recreational use with some conditions of sod farms and things like that. The board recommended some additional requirements related to that, most notably a traffic study, and that information was initially included in the ordinance amendment as proposed by the board. When it went up to the Pinelands Commission, they asked that it be more specifically defined and narrowed to just that change in the law and those types of uses, and not other things that may come up like a trailhead parking lot of a few parking spaces or things like that. Seems simple enough. When it went back to the planning board, they wanted to take another look at it, which they did now, and they further revised the condition to make it not only that there is a report provided, but that there's some actual standard that has to be met. I think it makes sense from a planning standpoint. So you guys. I bored 4 people right out of the room. So, the planning board's recommending this additional change. Basically that says, in addition to the language that was already there, prepared by a New Jersey licensed civil engineer having expertise in the field of traffic engineering and demonstrating that all turning movements and ingress, egress to from the proposed turf field parking area shall be no worse than level of service C under the highway capacity manual and AASHTO standards. So if somebody comes in to actually do that use, they have to go before the board. This is one of the conditions they'd have to meet, not just to submit a report, but that it actually meets a level C standard or above. I ran this by Pinelands just to make sure we weren't going to have a problem. When it goes back to them again, they concurred that this is a fine recommendation and amendment. So what I would ask is a motion to amend in accordance with the planning board recommendation, and then to relist second hearing as amended for our next meeting, which is going to be on August.
6th, I believe.
You have that, Sue? I'll look it up.
Okay.
Yeah, August 6th. So that would be the motion to amend the ordinance in accordance with the planning board recommendation and continue the public hearing to August 6th. In the interim, Sue and I will coordinate on advertising again, which is required under the municipal land use law. And then it'll be back and we'll have the public hearing to finally adopt this.
And just on behalf of the Joint Land Use Board, several years ago, we had an application for a turf field. And there was an overwhelming voluminous public outcry against it. So much so that the applicant finally rescinded their application, and we were just looking at potential something like that happen again. And we even discussed if this would be in a way of anybody having a agritourism event, a concert or something. And they said, that, you know, as long as something like that, as long as, you know, if it triggered more than 300 people, that, you know, we would have it go to John, our OEM official, and review that and look to see what the capacity is. But it's not meant to get in the way of hay rides and things like that for our farmers. It's meant when these commercial entities come in and take over and have sporting events that are thousands of people and, you know, volumes of cars that just our roads aren't built for. You know, the board heard that and they just were looking at a way to have a little bit of control on that.
Okay. Well, when your own mother's against something, you're not going to get it, right?
I guess not, you know.
All right. At this point, does anybody in the public have anything to say about this before we make a motion? Hearing and seeing none, we'll close this portion to the public and ask for a motion along the lines that a solicitor has just indicated.
I'll make a motion for the amend, blah, blah,
What
blah,
he
blah.
For the Joint Land Use Board
Yeah,
amendments, recommendations.
Yeah, for the board's recommendation. Planning board recommendation, that's right.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Ms. Mazitis,
Yes.
Mr. Wilkinson,
Yes.
Mr. Woods,
Yes.
Mr. Zender,
Yes.
Mr. DeCroce.
Yes, 2024-10, which is second reading and an opportunity for public comment for an ordinance amending chapter 110 of the land development of the code of the township of Shamong. And Doug, can you give us, or Sue, can you give us an update on that?
This is the stormwater? Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the Pineland stormwater. Yes. So Pinelands did require an update to the stormwater ordinance. This is really to update the data that's utilized for the stormwater modeling when you produce these stormwater reports. So, which is typical, which is what the state also did for the non-Pinelands areas. Pinelands also added another stipulation. They're trying to prevent commingling between the drainage areas and the Pinelands. There's two major drainage areas, so they put in a new section to that extent. And that's really, yeah.
And like, at least half of the ordinances we do these days, it's mandated from above.
It's mandated.
Okay. All right. Any questions or comments from anybody in the public? Seeing, hearing none.
Shouldn't this wait to see what plays out with the Supreme Court ruling on Chevron?
Well, the Chevron decision's an interesting decision because it's going to curtail all of these unelected bureaucrats from jamming these things down our throat. And the Pinelands Commission, some could argue, is such an entity. With that said, I don't think this is something that is going to cause taxpayers any increase in Shamong.
Is this through just the Pinelands or is it DEP as well?
Pinelands. Go ahead. I mean, so Pinelands does their own separate review when
Review.
DEP issues something. They basically tell all the Pinelands towns, wait, and we're gonna, you know, transfer this into what works under the comprehensive management plan. Honestly, I think what's been my understanding, I'm not an engineer, is Pinelands stormwater regulations were here. And DEP was here, and it's kind of moving like this. DEP is getting closer, but we've been under sort of, so I don't consider these to be real substantial impacts in Shamong Township. We're not seeing the kind of shifts that other towns are seeing that fall outside of Pinelands.
Yeah, this isn't going to be something that's going to increase any prices to doing things. This is just a change in methodology and
just saying some further standards for water quality purposes. That's really what it comes.
Will restrict any of property owners' rights.
It should not, no.
What about if
Right.
somebody has a retention basin on their private property?
So the restrictions that are really coming from this ordinance would be if, say they had a retention basin and it was located on a drainage boundary, that would be the impact. So if you're collecting drainage from one side of your boundary and then you're moving it to your other side of your boundary, that would be the impact. But if you're located on a boundary line, that would be an obvious hardship for something. I don't believe that there would really be any true impacts to that. Something that remained in that area would be allowed to remain.
Okay.
And I know that the last couple of years they've been ramping up. We do our best practices analysis for the state of New Jersey, and if we don't score favorably enough, they can take some of our funding away for us. And lo and behold, they're putting more and more stormwater questions in those questions and into the qualifiers that we have to meet every year. And I would anticipate more of that this year. Now they're kind of pushing this ordinance down our throats.
So that's how they control
Yes.
towns, is saying, if you don't do this, we're going to take your money away. And this is a case where it's not going to impact our voters or property owners.
I think Chevron's a landmark decision. It's gonna take a lot of time to see what other cases develop and how the lines get drawn on how far regulations can go versus limitations and when it has to go back to the legislature to act as opposed to being purely regulatory.
Yeah, I think it's a great decision, and this is probably not the one to fight on because we already are at the higher restrictions. So, but I think it's coming. So I think it's a good decision. And
Well, that decision also talks about decisions that are made by unelected bureaucrats that are tertiary to their core responsibility. And I would argue that if you're talking about the Pinelands, this is squarely in the center of what they do.
Yeah, I tend to agree, at least on this particular one. I
On this
see
one.
this be so, but it's I think we're gonna see the fallout from Chevron for years. Start to see how that gets defined over time.
any other questions or comments from the members? And did I already open it? I opened it up to the public, so it's closed to the public unless anybody else has anything. Okay, we'll close it to the public and ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
A second.
Mr. Zender,
Yes.
Ms. Macias,
Yes.
Mr. Wilkinson,
Yes.
Mr. Woods,
Yes.
Mr. Cochi.
Yes, all right, next is my favorite part of the meeting, which is approval of the attached bill list, which this month is $1,463,315.91. And as I often do, Sue, can you give us an indication of what Shamong gets out of this and where the rest of how much goes to the other places?
Okay, first, it looks like I have a typo. It's 1,363,000. My apologies.
We saved $100 grand.
Just 100 grand, just like that. Arawak
Beautiful.
paving is getting 321,000 for Atstein Roads Phase 1 and 2. We had a LoSAP payment, which is an annual payment of 37,000. Shamong Board of Ed got 916,000. That leaves a balance of just under 90,000 to run the operations of the township. Also, please note that there's no Lenape Regional High School District payment in this bill list because we did not have their tax rate certified and could not pay upon that. So we'll be looking at a double hit next month.
No.
So strap in for next month's bill list. So we're
Okay.
saving this month, but heavy hitter next month.
All right, any questions or concerns? If not, can we have a motion to pay the bills? And I'll say, Mr. Roach tells me if there's no motion, we're not paying the bills.
I'll make a motion to pay the bill.
Thank you. Is there-
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Mr. Woods,
Yes.
Mr. Wilkinson,
Yes.
Ms. Macias,
Yes.
Mr. Zender,
Yes.
Mr. DeCroce.
Yes, now we're going to go to reports from our professionals. Township Engineer Anthony, welcome, good evening.
How you doing, everyone? This will be quick. Grassy Lake Road. We're coming to the finalization of that project. There was a little bit of extra money in the budget. We're going to put it towards the solar speed limit sign. So that's the one thing that's going to be remaining on that project. Atstein Road Phase 1 and Phase 2, we talked about that earlier, the pay estimates and the change orders. And we're going to do a little bit of additional paving. NJDOT municipal aid, we did submit the next grant application. We asked for $371,388, and we should be finding out closer towards the fall if we get those grants. Indian Mills Lake Dam, we did get some correspondence back from DEP after our last inspection. Something that'll be quickly cleared up. I went out there earlier today, and Sue sent me some pictures from after the burning of the frag muddies out there at the spillway. When we went out there and did the inspection, it was right before the burning. The frag muddies were high. We didn't see it, so dam safety, called it out. He said you have to go back and inspect that, but we have the documentation, and we saw what was out there, so we can handle that. That'll be taken care of this week. And the road program, it's coming to a head now. We're on East Stokes Road, and that's all that remains. There was a little bit of a holdup last week with a little bit of farming activity that was occurring. So to accommodate that, they were going to switch that up to next week. So that'll be closing out that project. That's all I have.
All right, great. Thanks, Anthony. I just want to acknowledge the Burlington County Road Commission, whatever their title is, for the work that they did on the bridge at Oakshade and at Shadow Lake. So we had asked them to take out the rumble strips that use the old wood and put in some macadam, which they did. So I think it'll make lives of people in Shadow Lake a little more comfortable. So I'd like to publicly acknowledge them, and if we can get a letter out, Sue, to them, I think that would be a good idea, thanking them for handling that.
Yeah, but last month we brought up a question about the skin coat, top skin of the.
You know what, I did run that through to Joe. We did look at the maps. I don't know if any resolution has come on that, but it's something we did discuss, and yeah, and we're gonna talk about for the upcoming projects.
Okay, anybody else have any questions or comments of Anthony? Thank you, Anthony. Now we'll go to Solicitor Doug. Good evening, best dressed in the room.
It's a danger of the profession, as you know, Mike. The only thing I was going to report on is just Bighorn again remains active with respect to not only the landfill project, which they're moving forward on, but also the Murphy's Pit site. Murphy's Pit site has presented challenges, as we've discussed in the past, just in terms of infrastructure and other things that would be needed for some of the proposals they've had. But I think the good news from our perspective is that they seem intent on bringing some sort of positive redevelopment to that site. So as usual, I don't think we're going to be the impediment to that. I think it's the regulations above us in Pinelands, but I will, as I said before, I'll follow up again with this month, and as we get any more information about the status of either property, we'll report back.
Okay, great. Thank you. Chris, did you hear all that, Chris? That's the property across the street. Oh, excuse me. Good. My apologies. Were you able to hear all that? That's the property across the street from us.
So in relation to that, and what's been happening over there with our issues and complaints, I reached out to our senator's office, and they were going to dive a little deeper to find out are you able to elaborate as to what the holdup is?
So I think I'm not an expert in solar, but the understanding I have as conveyed by Bighorn is two things. One, for the way that these projects get graded out and rewarded or awarded by the state process, the landfill actually did well because it was a prior landfill. If they had found dumping or below grade problems on the Murphy's Pit site, it actually would have been better from a state perspective, the way they look at these things. They did not. So that's one issue. The second issue is it's a fairly large piece of property. It'd be a fairly large solar field. The infrastructure around that from the utility has to be able to take that on. And I think that's the issue that they face as another element to that. So I think it's a grading issue at the state, and it's an infrastructure issue at the utility level. They have also explored other potential development on that property. As you know, it's a former pit, right? So whatever they do there, they're gonna have to figure out how to make that work in terms of land development. And all I can say at this point is that I don't think their bread and butter is solar. If they could do it, they'd make it happen, and they are very knowledgeable, and I'm sure they know what they're doing in that regard. But their secondary intent seems pretty clear that they're not going to just walk away from this property. They want to try and make something happen there. And we have taken all the steps we can from a redevelopment standpoint, designation, to try to encourage in whatever measure we can at a local level to facilitate that happening. And unless they propose something that we think is, that I mean, I think the governing body's been pretty clear that they're open-eared about what might be suitable there. Obviously, if they propose something that's going to have a negative impact on the community, that's going to be up for discussion. But I think whether it's some sort of limited residential improvements, some sort of small commercial operation, that site has limitations because of its existing condition. It's been scraped and it's below the rest of the grade around it. So we're going to work with them as much as we can. I'm just hopeful that someday something comes to fruition there, because I think unless and until it's fully redeveloped, whatever we do around the perimeter is going to be subject to encroachment and damage over time. And the people who have historically used that property illegally will find ways to do so again.
Okay, thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
All right, at this point, we're gonna go to usually the township administrator, but we're gonna jump ahead. We're gonna jump ahead to the Office of Emergency Management. Hi, John, welcome. Thank you for being with us. You are second best.
It's a pretty nice pack.
Yes, it is pretty good. John Lyons, OEM Emergency Management. This is my second quarter report for the year, one page. Actually, the most recent event is July, third quarter, but I wanted to share July 5th. We had the Tea Time Hill Wharton State Forest Fire. Current stats have it at about 4,300 acres, 90% contained. That was as of earlier today. Started in the area of Batona Campground and Apple Pie Hill area. So it was largely in Tabernacle. It moved towards Chatsworth. We had numerous calls to local resources, including Indian Mills Fire Company and myself. We helped with area management in the area of Carranza. I personally did a post by Carranza Memorial just to try to keep the public out of the area. I got a lot of calls from farm owners, livestock owners, concerned. I think on social media, some of my peers really talked about wildly out of control, used a lot of terms that I think made people very nervous. So they wanted to know where they were supposed to take their horses and that sort of thing. So it was good because they were able to get a dialogue going and tell people, reassure them that it was nowhere near at any point any structures that would be threatened in our township. And in fact, the only structures that were threatened were Bordentown Gun Club, which was only for a temporary amount of time. There was a lot of road closures, a lot of smoke. This is one of those things where we're probably going to smell it burning and smoldering for months to come. And depending on the direction of the wind, people will get upset and think there's a new event. There were people in Mount Laurel the other day complaining about it. So it's just one of those things. A year ago, and that sign had the same issue, if you remember. We were dealing with it for days and then months after that. Over the quarter in June 30th, we actually opened and activated our emergency operations center for severe weather. We had a significant storm pass through, considerable amount of rain that came through, monitored weather conditions out on the ground, but radio communications through the entire time with Burlington County, Office of Emergency Management, and the National Weather Service radar. We had no issues reported, no deployments, which is good, but we were open and operating and staged and ready to handle anything that would come in. Back in April, just to do a couple of significant events that happened over the quarter, we had a 4.8 earthquake in Lebanon, New Jersey. Shook my house. I don't know if anybody else did, but it lit up social media, and we had a lot of local response over that. Civic alerts were sent out to confirm that it was an earthquake and requested damage reports that were none reported that I'm aware of. April 13th, we had the township rabies clinics. That was a great volunteer effort. not only to get our animals vaccinated and across, but also just a good logistical volunteer deployment exercise for our folks.
Dr. Dazen was involved again this year?
I believe that was Doc, yes.
Yes, thanks.
But we have our
Yeah.
emergency response team come out, help with paperwork and traffic and first aid and anything else that comes up. And basically you could swap out rabies for water, medicine, food, anything that you might need in an emergency type situation. So we practice the pod point of distribution method, and it really doesn't matter what we're giving out or what we're doing. We just need to move cars and people through a particular area and practice logistics, and it works out well as an exercise for us. The county line wildfire on 4/24 was actually in Atlantic City at a educational conference, but we had a smaller size fire that burned in Wharton down at county line, closer in that closed Oak Shade Road, Jackson, for a short while. The May 1st had a good planning workshop meeting with the superintendent at Indian Mills Memorial. We also brought over the Tabernacle superintendent and talked about reunification and evacuation plans for the students and different security topics. It was a good regional discussion. We had our partners from state police there as well, and looking forward to continuing that relationship with our new superintendent. We convened our local emergency planning committee on the 15th of May and reviewed the status of our wildland community plans. So this is basically a document that our partners in the Forestry Fire Service author and maintain. It's due for renewal this year, and we've started some threads to get that updated, take a look at risks and mitigation. Hopefully there's some grant money available to help equip some of our local folks with that, but that process will happen over the next year. And there was an event on June 2nd, which we closed temporarily, Fork Neck Road, for Valentano's and the Run the Vineyards 5K, which is a great event for the winery. Puts a little bit of pressure on IMAA and some of the other residents on Fork Neck, but it's done on a Sunday morning and we communicate it pretty well, and it's all over. I think it's a win for everybody. In the end of June, I had the opportunity to attend a workshop in Medford Township with DEP. The fire company, Rob Dovies, the fire chief, and the OEM for Medford. They actually put out a notice to their residents asking for anyone who is a private dam owner to come to a workshop, and DEP went through the process of explaining the emergency plans, the inspections, the requirements. And I think some of the dam owners in Medford learned a few things. I think DEP got to meet a few folks. So I introduced myself at the end. Obviously, we're very familiar with the Indian Mills Dam Plan, the Outside Lake State one. I'm named on both of those, but I have a feeling that I have an opportunity with DEP to help identify additional dam owners in our town and get the status maybe of some of their plans and others, and just kind of partner better to understand, you know, the status of their dam, the impact if there was any issues, and help them if possible. So that's a good future work for us. Completed some training over the quarter. We had an online training course for special events contingency planning. Been a lot of focus, obviously, on situational awareness, security, planning around public events, et cetera. I attended the EPA Emergency Management Conference in Atlantic City and did a number of coursework on public assistance and protective measures, and completed a marine boating safety training along with 5 other members of Indian Mills Fire Company. We've got our Coast Guard boat licensing so that we're able to operate legally the units that we have for Marine. We have 2 Marine units, and we're actually going to practice next month out on Outside Lake for extractions and other rescues. On our CERT program, which are OEM volunteers separately, they received training from situational, where we had Office of Homeland Security for New Jersey came out and talked a lot about what to look for in large events. These folks are interacting with the public, and they're an extra set of eyes and ears. And it was actually very helpful in some of the programs that we did, especially at Tabernacle Memorial Day Parade. And we had additional training on heat exhaustion and stroke to make sure our volunteers are safe and know how to not take care of themselves and look out for others as well. They were very much involved in the Tabernacle Memorial Day Parade, as was I, in planning and execution of that. And then the very next day, our remembrance service here in Shamong. Most recently, on the 3rd of July, conducted an exercise in Medford for the fireworks. We had about 20 volunteers come out and assist them, as well as a huge operation. And next month, during the committee meeting, that same night is the Medford Township National Night Out, where we partner with the police department, where volunteers are invited to come out to that and hand out preparedness material, recruit for our volunteers, and just help people be better prepared, that sort of thing. 2 items to mention for the fire company separately tonight. I think you did receive the chief's report, so I won't go into the fire company operations. But we put our entire department through emergency vehicle operator training, so they're all certified in operating the big rigs. The certification course, I don't know if that helps us with the JIF at all, Sue, but yeah, we did receive certificates on it. I don't know if there's a rate.
If you want
or
to send them
something,
to,
but anything you want on that, Charlie, and I.
yeah, if you want to send them to, we'll send them into them and see if that's
We,
something they
we
want.
went through four separate evenings and one full exercise of classroom and hands-on driver training for emergency vehicle operation. And we, on the 15th of June, completed our first coin drop of the year. I think it was successful. It was not as successful as it was when we had the raceway, of course, but traffic was hit or miss. We timed it with an event that was happening in town at one of the fields. And folks were just generous, and we appreciate the support. We too need all the help we can get. So, thank you. Any questions?
Ladies and gentlemen, no, thank you, John. We
Thanks for your
appreciate
time.
it.
Appreciate it.
And now we'll go to our township administrator. Sue, good evening.
Hi, how you doing?
That didn't sound very enthusiastic.
Trying to, we've been through some of the items already on my report. Just a reminder, the county line bridge, which is connecting between us and Waterford Township on Oak Shade Road / Jackson Road. We've heard that it's going to be replaced sometime in the near future. We don't have any dates. We're still working with the county to find out when they're planning on doing that. That is a large detour and not a very fun detour, but they did it about 27, 28 years ago. Last my memory was. Minnie Mills Lake Dam was treated for algae the first week of July. Everything else we've pretty much covered. So.
All right, great. Thank you, Shep.
Mhm.
Anybody on the board have anything to say? Questions or comments?
I want to bring back to one of your first comments on the property taxes with the schools. In the state budget, found out kind of last minute because we don't really get the state budget as Republicans until the last minute that Lenape Regional, while losing multi-million dollars, a few $1 million, will be getting $500,000 of that back. Not thanking anybody for only giving a little bit of the large amount of money they take from our school districts back, but I think it is something we should keep an eye on. And I know you wanted to talk to Dr. Birnbaum over there, just seeing how much of that money can go back to softening this tax hit, and doing everything we can from the township level to advocate to see, hey, if you're getting this back and you didn't anticipate it, let's see that go towards softening this tax hit first and foremost. So
Great. Thank you for that update. That's good. I'm going to raise your taxes by $1 million and then you come back and complain, I'm only going to raise them by $500,000. So we're getting tired of that game. All right. We've had enough. So if you're not registered to vote and your kids are not registered to vote, please make it happen, because this year we could actually make a big change in the state. With that, I'll open the meeting back up to public comment, and really all you people have been so generous with your time, and we appreciate you being out here. Anybody have any questions or comments? Come on up, Jim, so we can hear you.
One question on the property up on Murphy's Pit. Is that open to residential? I mean, was the town?
So it's not zoned for that right now.
Right.
And I think, like I said, the bigger issue would be Pinelands, and I think the scope of what would be proposed.
Right. Well, I'm just looking at.
We don't have sewer, we don't have public water.
Right, well, it would have to be large lots.
It would have to be large lots and, inconsistent nature to what is around there. And there's also issues about, that whole property goes back a ways. It's not all into the same zoning. Only the front portion is really what we're talking about. Though we're hopeful that the back portion would be acquired by Bighorn, who's the solar company, and whatever they do on that site, that back acreage they're proposing to donate to the township.
No, because they're on where Lakes Construction used to be on. What development is that now in Tabernacle? That was also a gravel pit.
Tamarack?
No, not Tamarack, the new development. I can't think of the name of it. Off the Marcia? No.
On Route 26?
Monarch Woods.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but that was also a dump.
Okay.
Nobody.
Oh, right.
But it was
yeah.
a dump, it was a gravel pit, and they did, but you gotta have a big company like Horton or somebody come in.
Yeah.
And do something like that. But okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the public? If not, we'll close it. Seeing and hearing none, we'll close this portion of the meeting to public comment and ask for a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion.
I'd say we'll stay here all night if nobody does that.
I would second.
I'm in the zone.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you, everybody. Jim, thank you. All right, not bad, not bad.
Where are you sailing to?
There's